Welcome to a new video with our home in the forest. I'm Caroline. I'm living with my husband Misha and our two small children in Portugal on our forest farm that we bought about 1.5 years ago. We moved last January to this land and we had and have so much work besides our projects to have some tourism here, to see how we can sustainably live here. We also have our garden, our food garden, vegetable garden. We found more fruit trees in our forest when we installed our wooden cabin down in the forest. Check that video out, how we were foraging our land. Today I'm showing you how we are setting up our permaculture inspired vegetable garden. Permaculture. What is that? People will be asking. Or if you are very deeply into permaculture, you will be offended by my little gardening patch, maybe. I also like to call it a lazy garden. I'm following the principles. I have been watching a lot of videos of Anna of all trades. She inspired a lot of our design in the sense of using wood chips and cardboard for the pathways. We will do this week. Um, it is not yet a no pull garden or a no weed garden. We could be laying cardboard again and mulch on top and compost and all that, but I do still have plants in there, and we will be putting new plants probably tomorrow. So there is no way of digging the whole thing. And this is where, in my opinion, the idea of permaculture comes in. Permaculture as opposed of a monoculture where we would just be uh, plugging everything and seeding something new this season. It is, in my opinion, like a foresty inspired gardening method where we are seeing what works in the forest, what can we apply to have a very healthy gardening patch. Of course, it is not possible to do all this in your garden patch. Like, even for us, we have an entire forest in front of our house, but still there are some things that we are more designing to our needs instead of just following nature's intention, because we want to have it just in front of our house because of gardening, because of accessibility. I know if I had to go down 2, 3 terraces into our forest where we maybe have a better patch, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to see my garden every day. I would not be able to harvest every day. Especially last year when I was having a 9 to 5 job. I was just passing here, I'm passing to the chickens every day. You're going back. It's already a big issue now that we have it actually fenced because of our chickens. It's already less accessible. You need to enter to a door, you need to close the door, but that's how we do it right now. Ideally, we want the chickens to be fenced in an area because they cannot continue free ranging, because we will also have wine and grapes everywhere that we cannot protect from them, and they are jumping quite high to get the good stuff. So that's a project for later on, and then we might remove this fence actually again. Chickens are not great in your garden. Some people say it's fine, and it was fine when everything is grown up, like tomatoes. They will not reach anymore. They just eat the lower leaves and the lower fruits. But then you cannot seed new because they constantly scratch the floor and eat the seeds, and um, yeah, just not working for us. So that's why we fenced our gardening patch and made life a bit harder for us. Following a permaculture approach, we are also seeing what works in our region, what works for our gardening patch. Um, it's maybe also inspired, some people call it chaos gardening. It's not really chaos gardening for me, but it sometimes gets chaotic because I forget what I already planted. I'm trying to sketch everything in a little book, what I am thinking about more is like what grows high, what goes well with the ground cover. So I planted there some corn. The corn will go up and the ground will be bare and something can go there to cover the ground. So that's something you can think about, or if they have different growing seasons. I have here some um, couve in Portuguese, cabbages, different kinds of cabbages, winter crop that is still growing. It's still being eaten the next weeks. And tomorrow we will get tomato plants because my seeding was not very successful. And we will just plant them there with them until the tomatoes are big and putting shade. These ones will be probably harvested. Um, I am removing all the tomatoes that were in one single bed because we didn't know where to put them when we got them. They will go around the fencing, around the outer lines to also help covering the ground for weeds not to be able to settle. That's the entire idea.
I think that not all of my peas came up. There's one, here's none. Just put in some more peas here. Maybe have peas before the we have peas before the tomatoes come here.
This is the part that was most overgrown. You see the difference because there was no cardboard and it's very hard to reach. I clean it now probably one time for the summer and then it should be fine for us.
I am trying not to be overwhelmed by the weeds. When I start pulling one, I want to clean the entire garden. But remember, we are not planting a curated garden. We are planting to have food. As long as the plants that we want are growing, it's fine. It doesn't need to be clean all around. They might be even benefiting from each other. You might be wondering, why does she have a pillowcase? Why does she have a pot there? And while weeding, I was also wondering what would be useful in my kitchen. So in the pillowcase, I am collecting sting nettle. We love sting nettle in our dishes.
You can definitely also tell where the chickens are taking care of the ground. It's much more clean, scratched, not so many weeds.
And I started there this try out to use the sticky willy, I believe is the name in English, but we didn't like it so much.
I want to say why I'm cleaning here from the outside is also I believe that we might have less contamination from the outside to the garden. I hope in the next years that this will be less. You will also see it on the other perimeter that we always have weeds creeping into the garden.
And then I went along and made the effort to clean the entire gardening patch from weeds. You see there behind this fence, it's much more weeds. We didn't use cardboard there, and it is very hard to access. And after that, I was just spreading out some seeds for carrots because this is a place we will not really use. We made it a bit too tight there under the olive tree behind this fence where we had tomatoes last year. But while fencing it for the chickens, we didn't really think about that it would be quite narrow to grow something. And now I am preparing a path, and in the path I'm putting cardboard. The idea is to use the cardboard to have less weeds coming back from the path, at least, because in the gardening bed I cannot use cardboard anymore. We used it the year before, but now we have there constantly seeds and constantly plants, because in Portugal we have a zone where we have basically no frost, and we have perennials.
In your garden, what you want to avoid is bare, uncovered soil. Of course, now we are waiting for some of the seeds to sprout, and then we would cover the soil with any kind of mulch, like um, little wood chips can be fine. You can be using straw, you can be using dry leaves, either what you have already or what is really cheap in your region. Don't be focused on, I have to use wood chips or whatever. It really doesn't matter. For suppressing weeds in the ground, don't use plastic. That's not, even if they say that's a good idea, don't do it. It will not break down. If it breaks down, you have a lot of microplastics in your ground. Don't do that. What is, I think, a method you could use if you're fine with using plastic is like covering patches temporarily with a dark plastic to help suppressing the weeds and then plant on top. You're not having enough cardboard to use, or you don't want to do that kind of method. That would work as well.
Let's talk about something very important in your garden. Of course, you might want to set up a watering system, but let's rewind and think about water retention. How can we make sure that our soil stays moist and doesn't evaporate the water that it could hold? Because when we are in the forest, we notice, and I just removed here, I wanted to clean here, and I just removed all the sticks and leaves that we dropped here 3 weeks ago when we started cleaning the area around our wooden cabin. The soil here, where all the sticks were laying down, of course the grass already broke down, but the soil here is moist. There's life. Whereas here, where we planted the bushes to make a barrier to the neighbor, the soil there was completely dry. So I reminded myself that uncovered soil is not good for our purposes. Of course, you can buy wood chips, you can buy any kind of material, straw, to put on top of your garden beds or wherever you have uncovered soil. But that's not necessarily the only option. You can use any dead material. If you have leaves that you're cleaning from your grass, lawn, that could work. If you have, like me now, a couple of small sticks that I would bring down to burn, why not use them? They have been here, I should put them there. Let me show you the difference in the soil. Here it's moist. That's where the sticks were. And here it was all dry. Underneath it's still humid, but the top was dry. So when we cover this up now, even the stick is still very wet from the last weeks of rain. So wood holds moisture. Under the leaves, when they break down, it holds moisture. That's what we want to do.
I have been pulling weeds now for the last almost 40 minutes to clean 2 garden beds. I understand if this is not appealing for somebody else. And this might have not been our option if I had a 9 to 5 job. We might have opted for just plugging everything, putting cardboard again, and compost. But the idea here is a long-term goal. Of course, and my back is telling me already, raised beds are a great option also when you have smaller space, but there comes the question of money. Right now, I have time, not so much money, so I opted for plugging weeds. They tell you there is this methods of lazy gardening, no pulling weeds, and I do hope that this is a goal for the next years. The idea that I am following here right now is to have a secluded patch of a vegetable garden that by time in the next years has less weed pressure when we are taking care of it, that we don't let the weeds, the unwanted plants get to seed. So we only grow here what we really want to eat. We have there a terrace, so only wine. This will protect the seeds from entering from that side. And on this side, we have a hedge, another terrace, and rosemary bushes. Under the rosemary bushes, you can tell already nothing is growing. So that will be our idea to diminish weed pressure from the ground. I'm pulling, we're putting cardboard where we're not having edible plants, and from the sides to extend the place to have less weed pressure, so it would be only entering by wind or with bird poop. So that's why this year is again a weeding year. Maybe next year, probably occasionally every year, we need to do a little bit of weeding, but we cannot, or I don't want to just plow everything and plant new, because we have perennials, we have constantly a seed cycle, and we're not planting the entire garden new every year. That's the minus. Also a pro, right? Because with this very mixed wild garden, you don't have the problem of nutrients deficiencies, because it is such a mixed garden. There are some nitrogen fixers, some plants that are bringing good nutrients for other plants, and we are not running empty on nutrients. It's not like a bare field that is drying out. That's the idea. I cannot tell you if it's working. Only in 5 years, so stick around for another 5 years to see the results.